Sunday feast here at iskcon Toronto. Tonight we're really lucky to have a very solid devotee in our community, Minakshi Devi Dasi. So a bit about her: she did grow up in iskcon and has been in Krishna consciousness all her life. She had the blessing and personal association of Srila Prabhupada at a very young age, and was also initiated at a very young age as well. So she's a graduate of computer science from the University of Toronto, and she serves in various capacities. So iskcon Toronto's Kirtan Team's Shashtadhan program, and is also part of iskcon's North America Mentorship Initiative, Prabhupada Foundation, and Friends of BBT. So please help me in welcoming Minakshi Devi Dasi. Thank you.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Shripada Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnanachanashalakaya Chakshurunlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Prachitade Sadarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shubhasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Sunday, especially on a long weekend. We really appreciate your time. So today's topic will be on the power and importance of the holy name, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana, which is the essence of all the Vedas, it is described in the 12th canto that in this age of Kali, the most important way of escaping material bondage and the ties of Maya and going back home, back to Godhead, is through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is the only way we can do so in this stage. Now we all want to elevate our consciousness, right? Live a better life, be more purified, get out of this pain and suffering, right? We all have pain and suffering. But how do we do so, especially in this day and time, when their material pursuits are rampant, when there are so many distractions, so many temptations around us? How do we do that? Well, the answer is actually given in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This question was asked, there was a conversation where it was asked that in the age of Kali, what process should people do that will benefit them? Who and how should they worship? And then in the 5th chapter, 32nd verse, it was answered. The verse states, in this age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his servants, his associates, his weapons, and his confidential companions. So this verse is actually referring to Lord Chaitanya, who appeared in this age of Kali Yuga. And he is Krishna himself. He did not appear with a blackish complexion, but with a golden complexion. The Lord descends in different ages, different yugas, for various different reasons. But in this age, he appeared as Lord Chaitanya. We actually celebrated his appearance, many of you might have been here, last Sunday, where some of his pastimes were described. And why did he appear? He appeared for two primary reasons. The first was that he wanted to experience and relish the mood and mellow of Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna. And the second reason was to introduce Yuga Dharma, the spiritual process in this age that everyone can follow to uplift themselves from unhappiness, from material existence, and become liberated. And what was that process that he brought? Said the intelligent persons will perform congregational chanting of the holy name. And what weapon did the Lord bring? The verse refers to a weapon. In this age, he didn't bring a bow and arrow. He didn't bring a Sudarshan Chakra, but the weapon was the holy name. You see, in other yugas, in other ages, there was different forms, different methods of worship. So for example, in the Satya Yuga, the method was meditation. In the Treta Yuga, the method was fire sacrifices. And in Dwapara Yuga, it was elaborate and opulent deity worship. But none of those are practical for us today, right? We cannot do contemplative meditation in a quiet and secluded place. We cannot go to the forest so that we don't have any distractions. It's not very practical, right? We can't really do effective fire sacrifices. because you can't even find qualified brahmanas these days that would even enunciate the mantras correctly. What to speak of getting pure ingredients to perform such fire sacrifices? And we certainly, each individual of us, cannot perform lengthy, opulent, elaborate deity worship, right? We hardly have the time to maintain ourselves, our families, go to work, go to school, etc. But mercifully, whatever one can attain from those processes of worship in the other ages can be attained simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in this age. And Lord Chaitanya is the one who brought this solution, brought this medicine to us to relieve our pain and suffering in this age. And relatively speaking, he did not appear that long ago. He appeared 538 years ago, not thousands of years ago, not millions of years ago. So we can understand that this solution is actually applicable and relative to us today. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is actually stated, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalo nasteva, 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 gatir anyata. That is, in this age of Kali, there is no other way, no other way, no other way for self-realization than the chanting of the holy names, chanting of the holy names, chanting of the holy names of Lord Hari. Now you must have noticed that it was repeated 3 times. No other way, no other way, no other way. Then chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names, chanting the holy names. So why was it repeated 3 times? It was to emphasize to us the importance of this process, to get out of this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, get out of this material suffering, so that it would hit our heart, mind, and soul, that this is the only process to counteract the effects of Kali Yuga and cross this ocean of misery and go back home, back to Godhead. So simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can do that. It's a pretty good guarantee, right? Who would like to do that? Like if I gave you $1 million today, I'm sure you'd all run up, right? Everybody racing to get that $1 million, right? Well, this is better than $1 million, because that $1 million is temporary, it's going to stay here. This solution is permanent. So this Maha Mantra that we are speaking about, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which we repeated before and we sung before as well, is made up of 16 words, 32 syllables, and 3 names are repeated: Krishna, Rama, and Hare. Krishna is repeated 4 times, Rama is repeated 4 times, and Hare is repeated 8 times. So what do these words mean? Krishna means all attractive. It refers to the principle of Godhead, the supreme controller, the supreme personality of Godhead, the supreme Lord. And when we take the word Krishna from an etymology perspective, Krish means attraction, and Na means ananda or bliss. So put together, it means all attractive. Krishna possesses all opulences, and opulences are attractive to everyone. And therefore, Krishna is the most attractive, the all attractive. Actually, the Lord has many, many names. His names are unlimited. We could never end the names. And some of them describe his pastimes, some of them describe his characteristics. But it is stated that Krishna is the most powerful name of the Lord. And then the next name is Rama. So Rama means spiritual enjoyment, or enjoyment through spiritual life. It also refers to both Lord Balaram and Lord Ramachandra. Srila Prabhupada actually explains that both are correct, referring to both Lord Balaram or Lord Ramachandra are equally the same and non-different. It is also stated that Ram equals Lord Nityananda as well, because Nityananda is an expansion of Lord Balaram. And to understand the power, the potency of the name Ram, it is stated that 1,000 names of Vishnu equal one utterance of Ram. And incidentally, 3 names of Ram equal 1 name of Krishna. And then the last word in the mantra is hare, right? We weren't going to miss that. So hare is the vocative or the endearing term of hara. And hara is a supreme potency of Krishna. It's his internal potency, the pleasure potency, which refers to Srimati Radharani. It is by this internal potency that we can actually gain the grace of Lord Krishna. So when we call upon Krishna, we say Hare Krishna, we're actually calling upon the Lord and the internal potency of the Lord. The internal potency of the Lord allows us to get closer to the Lord. So when we surrender to the Lord, Srimati Radharani gives us the grace to be able to get closer to the Lord and have the Lord reveal himself to us. So when we chant the Maha Mantra, our mood should be like a child crying for his mother. And then Mother Hara, Srimati Radharani, gives us the grace to show ourselves to the Supreme Father, Lord Krishna. So these 3 transcendental words, these are the 3 transcendental seeds that make up the Maha Mantra. And this Maha Mantra has extraordinary potency. It is all auspicious, all powerful, all beneficial. And because it is a spiritual sound, a transcendental sound, it is ever fresh. It is never boring, never tiresome. No matter how many times you say it, you'll actually develop a taste for the Maha Mantra. And so, in the Kali Yuga, Krishna has appeared in his holy name. He has manifested himself in the holy name. Lord Chaitanya actually states that. He says that Krishna has come. All of his energies have arrived in the holy name. Lord Chaitanya is saying that himself. And when we refer to Krishna, unlike other objects, the Nam, the name, and the Nami, the person, are one and the same. As I said, Krishna manifests in the name himself. If we look at language in general, generally the name of something is symbolic, right? You're naming an object or you're naming a person, but it is not the object or the person, right? If you were to call your spouse's name or your partner's name or your child's name, and they're thousands of miles away, and you say their name, they will not suddenly appear in front of you, right? Just like if you start saying water, 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 it will not quench your thirst. You have to actually drink the water in order to quench your thirst. Those are material sounds, material languages. However, when we chant the names of Krishna, he appears in the sound. That is the difference. It's a divine sound. As Srila Prabhupada gives a very profound statement. He says when you chant the holy names, when you chant Krishna, Krishna appears and dances on your tongue. Imagine that. When you chant the name Krishna, he is dancing on your tongue. Pretty profound, right? If you think about it. So we can understand that sound is very important. Even from a material perspective, sound is used in a very powerful way to communicate, to convince, to manipulate, right? You see advertisements, you see music, songs, etc., to evoke some sort of emotion, some sort of reaction, some sort of action. And we see that it does have some power to do that. And so if we see that we are getting some sort of influence from the power of sound from a material perspective, just imagine what a transcendental sound can evoke, what the potency is of the transcendental sound. And there are many examples of great personalities who have chanted the holy name themselves and experienced the effect of chanting the holy name for themselves and for others. And I'm not speaking about millions of years ago. I'm speaking about now, decades ago and hundreds of years ago, in our lifetimes. So for example, Haridas Thakur was a great associate of Lord Chaitanya and appeared in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Externally, he was born as a Muslim, but he soon left home and went to the forest. And there, he built a small cottage and put a tulsi plant in front. And he would chant 300,000 names of the Lord every single day. And to put that in perspective, that is about 192 rounds of japa. When we have japa beads, there's 108 beads on a japa, and we chant the maha mantra, which I told you before is 16 words. So he would chant 300,000 names, equal to 192 rounds, which is about 21 hours a day. And then the rest of the time he would take on bodily maintenance, bathing, sleeping, begging for some foodstuffs. So he would do this day in and day out. And the neighbors would be in awe, and they would show so much respect and honor for him. However, the ruler of the district became very envious. His name was Ramachandra Khan. So he became very envious that why is this Haridas Thakur receiving so much honor and respect? And he was trying to discredit him and dishonor him and find some faults. But he couldn't find any faults in Haridas Thakur. So he devised a plan. And he made a prostitute, a social girl, go to the cottage of Haridas Thakur to try to entice him so that he would fall down and Ramachandra Khan could arrest him and expose him as a cheater. So she agreed to do this and went one evening to the cottage of Haridas Thakur, as she wore very nice garments and was very alluring, spoke very sweet words, and proposed to him. And Haridas Thakur said, well, I'm chanting my rounds. I will listen to your desire afterwards. Let me finish my chanting. You just sit here and wait. So throughout the night, Haridas Thakur was chanting, and by the morning, the sun rose, so she left. And she came back the next evening, and he said, I have a vow, I'm still finishing my chanting, so you please just sit here. And so this went on for 3 days. And by the end of the third night, this lady was chanting herself. She had a change in attitude, a change in heart, a change in mind. And in the morning, she fell at Haridas Thakur's feet. And she said, please forgive me, I'm very sinful. I came with a different intent. Actually, Ramachandra Khan made me do this. He had an evil plan. Would you please make me your disciple and forgive me? And Haridas Thakur simply said, I knew about the foolish plan of Ramachandra Khan. And actually, I only stayed here to deliver you. So now you go give all your possessions away to the Brahmins, and you come back here, and you take up the offering of water to Tulsi every single day, and chant the Maha Mantra every single day. And saying that, he left the place. And so she did that. She gave up all her possessions, she shaved her head, she sat in the cottage and she started chanting. And the neighbors were awestruck and astonished that this person who was doing so many sinful activities before has become such an elevated devotee. So we can see from that example that not only was Haridas Thakur so staunch in the chanting of the holy name, and it gave him so much power that he did not even sway from chanting, but it transformed somebody from such a degraded background into such an elevated devotee. And then Lord Chaitanya himself, he would dance and chant in ecstasy, chanting the holy name and dancing. He would dance in front of the Rath Yatra carts. He would dance and chant on the streets, dance in other devotees' homes. And he would cry incessantly in ecstasy. The hair on his body would stand on end, and he would roll on the ground. He would get lost in the vibrations of the holy name. And once he was going through the Jarikanda forest, which had lots of wild animals, boars, rhinoceroses, tigers, elephants, and so forth. And these animals, when Lord Chaitanya would pass through chanting the holy name, they would just move aside and let him pass. And one day, there was a tiger that was sleeping, and he touched the tiger's head. The tiger woke up and roared. Lord Chaitanya said, "Why are you sleeping? Chant Hare Krishna." And what did the tiger do? He immediately became docile and started chanting and dancing the names, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Another time, Lord Chaitanya was bathing, and there was this herd of mad elephants that were charging towards him. He lifted some water and splashed them and said, "Chant Hare Krishna." They immediately stopped charging. They became in ecstasy and started dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. Now, animals normally in this day and age don't chant, but that was the power of Lord Chaitanya. So they were dancing and chanting and rolling on the ground. So we can see from this example that Chaitanya, the Lord himself, was chanting and experiencing ecstasy by chanting the holy name, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And not only that, the holy name is not only beneficial to living beings or human beings, but to all living entities, animals, insects, flowers, plants, trees. That is the effect of the holy name. And then Srila Prabhupada himself, he came just over 50 years ago. And what did he bring? He brought the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to the Western world. That is how he started the Hare Krishna movement. He would sit alone under a tree in Tompkins Square Park in New York City, and he would methodically and rhythmically chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And the people who had never heard the Maha Mantra didn't even know what it means. They would gravitate towards the sound, and they would chant and dance. And these same people who were hippies, who were doing so many different nonsense activities, they themselves became wonderful devotees, just from the touch of Srila Prabhupada and the holy name. So the question is, how can we chant? Where can we chant? Who can chant? And what is the process to chant? Well, the holy name is so potent that there is no hard and fast rule. There is no restriction. It can benefit anyone and everyone, no matter their background, their age, their status, their faith, their gender, their occupation. It doesn't matter at all. That's what we have to realize. You can chant anywhere and everywhere. Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada brought this to us freely. They didn't say that there's a fee that you have to pay, or there's some secret, I will whisper it to you. Lord Chaitanya opened the vault that everyone can have this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So we should take advantage of it and continuously and constantly chant the holy name of the Lord at every opportunity. You can chant quietly, you can chant loudly, you can chant alone, you can chant with others, you can chant congregationally, can chant in the temple, you can chant on the street, you can chant at a home program, you can chant meditatively on a japa beads. There is no limit, there is no end. It just simply takes some sincerity, some faith, some humility. And Lord Chaitanya says, Kirtanya Sada Hari. Chant the holy names continuously. That is his instruction. But you have to do it with some faith, some sincerity, some enthusiasm, some time, right? If you say with ego, oh, I'm going to chant and I'll be a big person, doesn't work that way. And Lord Chaitanya gave only 8 direct instructions. In his lifetime, he only gave 8 direct instructions. And one of those instructions, he states, one can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. And what would happen if we all chanted? It is stated that there would be a spiritual atmosphere in the world. There would be peace and unity. There would be less envy, less quarrel. And what would the effect be on us individually if we were to chant the holy name? One effect is that you would have freedom from the reactions of sin. We all know the term, what goes around comes around. So we are responsible for the sins that we have done in the past. But by chanting the holy names, we can eradicate the reactions of our past sins, and those that are occurring now, and those that will occur in the future, simply by chanting the holy name. Of course, that does not mean that by chanting the holy name, we say, oh, we can do some sins, the power of the holy name will eradicate it. That is not the case. We have to try to minimize our sins. But Krishna helps to eradicate them because we have followed the path of devotion by chanting the holy name. The other effect is you become free from desire due to illusion. We are all under the illusion of Maya. And when we're under that illusion of Maya, we think that we're this body, and we want to enjoy all these material pleasures. But by chanting the holy name, we realize that we're actually not. And it helps us to open our mind, open our soul, and understand that these material pleasures only bind us further. And that by chanting the holy name, we get a higher taste and can give up trying to enjoy these lesser material pleasures. We also obtain enlightenment, so we understand ourself, self-realization. What is the material world? What is the spiritual world? Indeed, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that to those who are devoted, I become compassionate to them, and I open their eyes. I dispel the darkness of ignorance and open their eyes to knowledge. That is Krishna telling us. And by chanting the holy name, you will see that you will become less distressed and more happy. And you're guaranteed the path to liberation. Haridas Thakur actually states that even the faintest rays of the effulgence of the Lord's holy name guarantees us the path back to liberation. And beyond liberation is the ultimate goal of life, which is prema bhakti, love of Godhead. And when we continuously chant, when this becomes a habit, when it becomes a practice, then at the time of death, we will also think of Krishna. Krishna will bless us that when we think of him at the time of death, then we can go back home, back to Godhead. Get out of this material world, not come back again and again and again. What does that mean? It means that you don't have to remember a bunch of shlokas, a bunch of mantras, a bunch of bhajans. You can, and it's good, that's okay. But the essential mantra that you should remember, that you should chant continuously is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Chant it, say it, meditate upon it. This Maha Mantra is so important that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 12 cantos, 18 volumes, 18,000 verses, the very last verse, the concluding verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami says, Nama Sankirta Nama Vasya, Sarva Papa Pranashana, Pranama Duko Samanas, Kam Namami Hari Param. That is, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. That simply by chanting the names of the Lord, we can eradicate all sinful reactions. We can relieve all material suffering. Remember at the beginning of this discourse, we talked about how can we get out of this pain and suffering? How can we relieve it? Well, the Shastras, the Upanishads, the Puranas, they are all saying that by chanting the holy name in this age of Kali Yuga, we can attain the goal of life. And that it is the most sublime and the practical and most easiest way to follow the process to go back home, back to Godhead in this age of Kali. So we request that you please take this to heart. Please understand the importance and the value of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Please chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chant with your heart, chant with your sincerity, chant with faith, and share with others this wonderful holy name. Give this gift to others. Don't keep it to yourself. Lord Chaitanya Srila Prabhupada brought this to us and shared it with all of us. So take advantage, share it. Don't waste this opportunity. Make your life sublime and go back home, back to Godhead. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Dasi. So one more round of applause, please. That camera's very close. Okay, so just a few announcements. I'm going to zip through these because there's a lot of folks, so we have to make sure that we serve prasad and eat prasad all before 8 p.m. because doors will close at 8 p.m. So quickly, a big thanks. Please help me thank the cooks for today. So it's Bob, Malini, Nachiji, and Cheddar Prabhu and team. So please, one big round of applause for that. Wonderful, thank you. And we do have 4 sponsors today. So one is anonymous. The second one is Sakti Swarup Devi Dasi and family. They're sponsoring for their Gurudev, His Holiness Gopalakrishna Goswami, and also their son on his first birthday, Pinaki Kamekar.